Oakland A's UK. Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK.
Hello and welcome to Oakland A's UK. I'm Matt Smith and the day is finally here. It's Thursday 28th of March. It's MLB opening day 2019. Now I've said it before, but for us A's fans we're a bit lucky this year because we're like the Queen having 2 birthdays. We've got 2 opening days. Good news really, considering we lost the first one. So as we gear up for MLB opening day, thought I'd do a quick video to check out all of the latest news, including the surprise signing of Kendrys Morales, looking at how the A's 40-man roster is shaping up on opening day, and looking ahead to the opening 4-game series against the Angels. So we'll start with a surprise signing of Kendrys Morales, who the A's acquired in a trade with the Blue Jays on Wednesday. Now in the previous video we had a look at the Matt Olson injury, and I looked at who we might replace Olson with from the current 40-man roster. I was leaning more towards Dustin Fowler rather than Franklin Barreto, solely because of the fact that with Olson out, Chris Herman out, Nick Martini starting the season on the injured list, there are 3 left-handed hitters all out of the equation. So I thought we might want another lefty option to go alongside Grossman and Profile, who were switch hitters. I think that's possibly what's playing into this signing of Kendrys Morales, because he's a switch hitter too, but hits particularly well against righties. Just looking at his line from last year, he played a little bit more limited with the Blue Jays last year, but still in 320 plate appearances, his slash line was 274, 366, 495 with 18 home runs in those 320 plate appearances. So he still can attack right-handed pitchers really well, and that's an important thing for the A's roster. So I think it's a really good signing to have him in the team. When you look at the deal, we've only given up kind of a minor leaguer who I'd never heard of, to be honest. And also Susan Slusser is reporting that the Blue Jays are going to cover more than 10 million of his 12 million salary. So at that price, well, it's worth a throw of the dice, isn't it? If he works out well, fantastic. If he doesn't, that's still money even the A's can afford to cut. Where he'll fit, well, clearly with Chris Davis as the DH, you don't really want to be messing about there, so it's likely he will have to play more first base, which he hasn't done a lot of in the past 2 years with the Blue Jays, but he can handle that, and I think it's always going to be a drop-off whoever you go to, from Matt Olson to whoever. But if he can come in and be a platoon with Mark Canha, then that could work out really well, and I think it's a good signing for us, and we'll see how it goes. There is talk that with Game 1 being a day game, he may not be with the team in time to play in Game 1, so Franklin Barreto may stay on the roster for now. But what better way for Kendrys Morales to open his A's career than smashing about some Angels pitching. So good luck to Morales. I think it's a good signing, and good to see the A's kind of thinking outside the box a bit and trying to swing a deal, not just going with what they've got, but having a go at trying to find someone new who can add more to the team. So good signing, I would say. The A's announced a series of roster moves prior to the Morales signing to sort out the 40-man roster, and it was announced as part of the Morales signing that Jarrell Cotton, unsurprisingly, will be moved to the 60-day injured list to make a space on the 40-man for Morales to come in. But what of the rest of the roster, the active roster, and the rest of the 40-man? Well, time to have a look at that magnetic whiteboard to see how things are shaping up now. So here we have the 40-man magnetic whiteboard, which makes it easier to kind of update the players as and when you need to. We're focusing first on the pitching staff at the bottom of the board. So as we start off, the first place we need to look at is the far left, as that's where the starting rotation candidates were. We've got Muntas and Brooks, who've made the roster in the rotation, and I've put OOO next to them out of options, so it was no surprise that they made the roster, because you wanted to do that rather than lose them by trying to designate them for assignment. But they've both deserved their place on the roster, particularly Muntas. We saw his splitter in the first Bay series game on last Sunday. Looks a real weapon, so this may be a big shout, but we may even see Muntas being one of our better, perhaps even our best starting pitcher this season. That would be something, but I do think he's got a lot of talent and could be a real find for us this year. So next thing we have to do, Chris Bassett misses out, and we have to update his card to reflect the fact that he's on the 10-day injured list. So we'll add that onto his card here. and then move him over to the right side of the board. So he's still on the 40-man roster, but is not on the active 25-man. The next move is Ryan Dell hasn't made the opening day roster, so he'll be in Vegas. But JB Wendelken has, so he was a find for us last year. Not quite to the level of Trevino, but he did well for us, so good for him. And that's the roster, so 5-man rotation, and then your 8-man bullpen of Trinan, Trevino, Soria, Rodney, Petit, Buchter, Hendricks, and Wendelken. Final thing we need to do, sadly, is Jarrell Cotton. It's a procedural thing as much as anything. He's been moved from the 10-day injured list to the 60-day injured list so that we can make space for Kendrys Morales. So scrub him out on there. So I've got the card for Morales, and then we'll add him down here. So hopefully Squeaky will be with the team later in the season and up and pitching maybe sometime in the second half of the year, coming back from Tommy John surgery. So we move to the top of the board and the position players. First thing we need to do, sadly, of course, is I've updated the card for Olsen, so that's 10-day injured list. So he moves over here. Hopefully it won't be so serious as needs to go to the 60-day injured list, but we'll have to wait and see. The other guy we need to look at, of course, is the new card, Kendrys Morales, the newcomer to the team. I've put first base next to him. He's in green as a switch hitter. Should be playing first base if he's getting in a team, you would suspect. So that's how I've updated that to there. Now what I'm going to do is move Franklin Barreto off. For opening day, he's potentially going to be on the roster because Morales may not get there in time, but he's going to be going to Vegas, so we'll move him across to the right side of the board. So still on the 40-man roster, but not on the active roster. And then we move Morales across. So I'm going to move Mark Canna down a bit so he's more in the outfield potential first base mix, and then move Morales up to there in the first base slot. So that's your list. You've got Fegley and Hundley at the top, with Morales, Profile, Semien, Chapman, Canna, Pinder, Grossman, Laureano, Piscotti, and Chris Davis. So I think the A's roster is looking pretty good, all things being considered. Of course, it's a blow to not have Matt Olson in there, and if only potentially Jesus Luzardo might have made the opening day roster, I still think perhaps more likely he would have started in AAA. Not so much to gain the surface time, because the A's don't tend to do that, more just to give him some innings in AAA, and also to limit his innings over the course of the season. So that's a shame too, but it looks pretty good, really good bullpen, good batting lineup still, good in the field, and we'll just have to see how that starting pitching shapes out. Let's put that Mariners Japan series out of the way for now. Yes, we're 0-2, but let's forget about that. Let's focus on the 4-game series against the Angels at the Coliseum. It's great to start against the Angels as far as I'm concerned. We did it last year because they're one of our key rivals, and if we can get some wins against them right from the off, then that's all good. That's a great way to start the season. So if we look at the matchups as they are probable to be at this point in time, Game 1 is scheduled to be a 8:05 start in the UK, so a good day game to start us off with Mike Fiers on the mound against turncoat Trevor Cahill. So former A Trevor Cahill starts off for the Angels. Game 2 is scheduled to be at 2:07 AM in the UK, so a night game, so early hours for us. Looks like it's going to be Matt Harvey making his Angels debut, which will be interesting to see how he goes this year after his injury battles over the past few seasons. And he should square off against Marco Estrada. Game 3, again, is a night game at 2:07 AM for the UK fans. And that should be Brett Anderson on the mound for the A's. And it looks like it's going to be Felix Pena, the right-handed pitcher who's kind of covering over for Andrew Heaney, who is injured again for the Angels. And then Game 4 on Sunday is going to be a day game, which is always good for us UK fans, a Sunday day game. It's going to be a 9:05 in the evening start for us, so the time difference goes back to 8 hours on the Sunday, so 9:05 for us. Looks like being Tyler Skaggs on the mound for the Angels, and Frankie Moonhouse probably pitching for the A's. So can't wait for the season to finally get underway properly with all of the games coming along at us. Should be a great first series against the Angels, with 2 games being day games, so convenient for us to watch in the UK. And hey, it's the weekend anyway, so why not stay up and watch the night games too. I'm Matt Smith. Don't forget to follow along on Oakland UK on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and like, share and subscribe to the YouTube channel.